in the heart of Chicago's most upscale soul food restaurant. A wealthy investor named David Chun let out a condescending chuckle. He gestured toward their server, a young black woman named Maya, as if she were a puzzle he'd already solved. "These local kids," he muttered in French to his 3 Parisian associates. "They have no discipline for real education." He was certain she was just another dropout, unaware she understood every single word. David stood, looking down at her notepad. "Can you even read the specials, dear?" he asked in English, his tone dripping with mock concern. He took out his phone, ready to record the coming embarrassment for his friends. A multi-million-dollar fashion distribution deal rested on this dinner going smoothly, and he thought humiliating their waitress would somehow impress his guests. The crystal lighting seemed to highlight Maya's initial hesitation. But then something in her posture shifted. Her gentle smile didn't fade, but her eyes hardened with resolve. He was certain she was just another dropout, unaware she understood every single word. David stood, looking down at her notepad. "Can you even read the specials, dear?" he asked in English, his tone dripping with mock concern. He took out his phone, ready to record the coming embarrassment for his friends. A multi-million-dollar fashion distribution deal rested on this dinner going smoothly, and he thought humiliating their waitress would somehow impress his guests. The crystal lighting seemed to highlight Maya's initial hesitation. But then something in her posture shifted. Her gentle smile didn't fade, but her eyes hardened with resolve. David continued his cruel monologue in French, describing her as unambitious and typical of a failing system. His European partners grew visibly uncomfortable, shifting in their seats as other diners began to notice the scene. Maya finished pouring their sweet tea, her hands now perfectly steady. She turned directly to the French visitors. When she spoke, her voice was calm and her Parisian accent was flawless. "Messieurs, I overheard your discussion about textile import quotas. Your concerns about tariff classifications are valid, but there's a loophole using bilateral trade agreements that could save your company 20%. A stunned hush fell over the table. David's phone slipped from his hand, hitting the polished floor. The lead French executive leaned forward, intrigued. "How do you know about international commerce law?" he asked, amazed. "I've read your company's white papers," Maya replied smoothly, still in perfect French. "Your approach to sustainable sourcing is innovative, but your supply chain logistics have a critical inefficiency." David sat frozen, his entire worldview shattering in an instant. The restaurant had gone quiet, save for the sound of discreet phone cameras recording everything. One of the French partners extended his business card with a trembling hand. "Mademoiselle, we must speak further. Are you available for a consultancy role?" The very woman he'd called uneducated was now being courted by international executives. How could a 20-year-old server possess such deep industry knowledge? Entire restaurant watching. The scene quickly escalated. At a nearby table, an Italian fashion mogul was arguing loudly with his assistant over a contract, frustrated by a language barrier. Maya glided over. "Scusi, signore," she began, switching to fluent Italian with a native Roman accent. The clause you're disputing is actually unenforceable under EU regulations." The man's anger vanished, replaced by shock. She then addressed his Spanish business partner in flawless Catalan, discussing fabric certification standards. She moved from table to table, a whirlwind of linguistic genius. She helped elderly Korean tourists with the menu, speaking formal Korean with respectful honorifics, then debated the nuances of culinary fusion with the head chef in Portuguese. It wasn't just language, it was expertise. Economics, international law, supply chain management. Each conversation revealed another layer of mastery. The restaurant staff emerged from the kitchen to watch. Managers stopped working. David's important business dinner was in ruins, but something incredible was being born in its place. A UN cultural attaché stood up from her table. In perfect Arabic, she asked Maya, "Would you be available to assist with a humanitarian logistics conference next week? We need someone with your precise skills." The entire dining room watched this young server field professional requests, as if she'd been doing it her whole life. David finally found his voice, a strained whisper. "How? How is this possible?" Maya turned to him, her expression not angry but confident. "You assumed my job defined my intellect. You never asked what I was doing before this. I worked 2 other jobs to support my family." The truth hit him like a physical blow. His face paled as the reality sank in. His French partners stood, ignoring him completely. "Mademoiselle, we need someone with your insight in our European office immediately." "What is your background?" David managed to ask. "Dual degrees in international business and linguistics from Georgetown," Maya stated simply. "I was finishing my master's when my family needed me." The room erupted in whispers. Phones lit up. #Genius server started trending locally. Comments flooded in. "She's 20. A Georgetown grad serving tables. What is happening?" David stared at the contract documents on his table, now seeming childish next to her demonstrated knowledge. But the biggest surprise came when Maya addressed him directly, her voice even. "Mr. Chen, your distribution agreement has 3 significant oversights. Would you like me to review them? My professional consultation fees do apply, of course." She was offering to help the man who had just belittled her. Every camera captured the moment David realized this wasn't just about being wrong. It was about witnessing a profound grace that forgave his ignorance. Every patron knew they had seen something rare. A woman dismissed as ordinary had just revealed an extraordinary mind. But one question burned in everyone's mind. How did someone with this brilliance end up working here? The truth about Maya was a story of resilience. Just 18 months prior, she was at the top of her class at Georgetown. At just 19, she maintained a 4.0 GPA, while developing a groundbreaking model for ethical supply chains that could transform global trade. Her professors called her a once-in-a-generation talent. Then life intervened. Her mother, a nurse for 25 years, developed a chronic illness that made working impossible. The medical bills piled up, reaching thousands each month. Her younger sister's scholarship for a prestigious art school was at risk without additional support. Maya made the hard choice. She left Georgetown to become her family's financial foundation. Quote, she traded a lecture hall for a dining room, but never her dreams. Her schedule was a relentless cycle. Server from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., remote logistics analyst from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., freelance translator from 8 p.m. until midnight. 4 hours of sleep, then repeat. Every tip paid for medicine. Every translation job funded her sister's education. But Maya hadn't abandoned her ambitions. She had recalibrated them. This restaurant, with its global clientele, became her living laboratory. Every conversation in a different language, every business discussion she overheard, fed data into her own project. She was quietly building a platform that connected small ethical suppliers with international buyers, bypassing exploitative middlemen. Her notepad wasn't just for orders. It was for mapping trade routes and cultural business practices. Every customer who underestimated her was unknowingly contributing to a system designed to empower people just like her family. Every slight became fuel. She wasn't just surviving. She was building a movement one shift at a time. Her mother's health would eventually stabilize. Her sister's education had an end date. Her own dreams were merely paused. David called her unambitious. He had no idea he was insulting a future industry leader. Humiliated and desperate to regain control, David called Maya back to his table. His voice cut through the murmuring room, ensuring every phone would hear. If you're so brilliant and not just a quick study with a translation app, prove it right now. He pulled a dense French contract from his briefcase, over 100 pages of intricate legal and trade terminology. Pages fluttered across the tablecloth. You have 10 minutes. If you can't translate this accurately, you're exposed as a fraud. The restaurant fell completely silent. Patrons stopped eating. More phones went live, broadcasting to social media. Managers watched from the doorway. David's arrogance was a shield for his panic. This wasn't simple conversation. It was specialized jargon that challenged seasoned professionals. Maya didn't flinch. She scanned the first page with intense focus. When she looked up, her tone was professional. This document has 3 major legal flaws that could invalidate the entire agreement in international court. Would you like me to correct them as I translate, or simply note them for you? David's smug expression cracked. That wasn't the reaction he'd planned for. Maya began to work, but she didn't just translate, she improved the document. Her voice remained calm as she explained each section. She identified nuanced phrasing that could lead to multi-million-dollar disputes. She pointed out clauses that were unbalanced and suggested more equitable language. The sustainability compliance section could be strengthened to prevent future audits, she noted, writing comments in elegant French script. And the intellectual property protection is inadequate for Asian markets. The French executives scribbled notes furiously. One whispered to another, "She's outperforming our entire legal department." They began firing complex questions at her. International trade law, tariff codes, ethical sourcing certifications. Questions that would stump most experts. She answered each with the ease of someone who had mastered these topics long ago. David's anxiety became palpable. His deal was being rewritten by the person he'd tried to mock. And terrifyingly, she was making it better. His partners now looked at him with pity, questioning his judgment. The crowd swelled. Diners left their meals to watch. #GeniusWaitress trended higher. Comments poured in. She's 20. Georgetown. Why is she not a CEO? Local news alerts started popping up. The incredible young woman renegotiating a major deal while in a server's uniform became must-see content. Maya finished in 8 minutes. She handed David the annotated contract, then met his gaze. The consulting fee for that review is $2,500. Standard for the industry. The translation itself is complimentary for a first-time client. The room broke into applause. David's French partners immediately asked if they could hire Maya as their lead consultant. The power structure had completely inverted. The entire restaurant witnessed a young woman redefine business acumen, while the man who doubted her sat in stunned silence. Tips dwindled as some customers specifically asked not to be seated in her section. The hostility was a daily presence. The kitchen staff made loud comments. Miss Georgetown thinks she's too good for this place. The breaking point came when Maya overheard a regular customer, Mrs. Gable, whom she'd served cheerfully for a year, tell another diner, "I don't enjoy coming here anymore. That girl is just too confrontational. It's unpleasant." Mrs. Gable had never seen the original incident. She was parroting the smear campaign, choosing rumor over her own positive experiences. Alone in the staff bathroom, Maya stared at her reflection. The fatigue from sleepless nights, the rough hands from constant work, the immense weight of her family's stability on her shoulders. She thought of her grandmother, who had worked as a seamstress her whole life while speaking 3 languages. Her own genius never acknowledged. Maya decided then. She would not become invisible for the comfort of others. She would not apologize for her capabilities. She would not make herself small so others could feel large. The world had silenced her grandmother's potential. It would not silence hers. But as she left the bathroom, she overheard David on his phone, arranging something that threatened to end everything she was building. A crisis erupted without warning. An elderly French diplomat at a corner table suddenly slumped forward, clutching his chest, his skin turning ashen. His wife screamed in panicked French as he slid from his chair. Paramedics arrived quickly, but a critical communication barrier appeared. The wife spoke only rapid, distressed French. Vital medical history was lost. "Does he have any allergies?" a paramedic yelled. "What medications is he on?" The wife responded in a frantic stream of French that no one understood. They prepared a standard injection while she became more hysterical. Maya didn't think. She put down her tray and rushed over, kneeling beside the terrified woman. "Tell me everything about his heart," Maya said in perfect, calm French. "I will translate for the doctors." The relief on the woman's face was immediate. Words tumbled out. Her husband had a specific cardiac condition. He was allergic to a common blood thinner. He was on a specialized medication that interacted dangerously with other drugs. Maya translated instantly. her voice a beacon of clarity. Stop. Do not administer that. He has a stent, and is allergic to heparin. He takes warfarin. The paramedic's hand froze. Are you certain? His wife says he had a near-fatal reaction to it last year in Lyon. He has a medical card in his wallet. They found the card, confirming every detail. The paramedics switched to a safer treatment protocol. But Maya didn't stop. She became a communication hub. She video called his doctor in France, translating complex medical terms in real time. She contacted his insurance, handling intricate policy language. She coordinated with his colleagues in Geneva, ensuring critical diplomatic meetings were postponed. Her knowledge from pre-med courses at Georgetown proved vital. She explained the man's condition using technical terminology the paramedics understood, bridging language and expertise gaps. David watched, his corporate mind finally grasping the tangible, human value of her gifts. The lead paramedic, a woman named Captain Reyes, asked for Maya's information. We need people like you in our emergency response unit. You could save countless lives. How are you not in medicine? When she learned Maya had left school to work, Reyes's face showed frustration. This is wrong. A mind like yours shouldn't be serving food. As the diplomat stabilized and was loaded into the ambulance, his wife took Maya's hands, her gratitude transcending words. This moment of human connection across divides was the embodiment of everything Maya's work aimed to achieve. An investor named Evelyn Reed, who had witnessed the entire event, approached Maya. What you just did, that coordination, that empathy, that knowledge, that's the future of crisis management. We need to talk. David's French partners pulled him aside. This young woman demonstrated more practical intelligence in 15 minutes than your entire proposal contained. Why is a talent like hers being wasted? Social media ignited again. Videos of Maya managing the medical emergency went viral worldwide. Comments flooded in from medical professionals, immigrants, and families sharing stories of language barriers in life-or-death situations. The restaurant management did an about-face. Instead of silencing Maya, they wanted to promote her. Reservations skyrocketed as people hoped to meet the remarkable young server. The shift was tangible. Maya received a text from her mother. I saw the news online. I am so proud of you. As the evening settled, David approached Maya, his demeanor now showing a mix of respect and regret. He requested a private meeting for the next day. His downtown office was a glass-walled testament to his wealth, a world away from the restaurant floor. I've built my career on identifying value, David began, his voice stripped of its prior arrogance. Last night, I understood I was blind to the most obvious source of it right in front of me. He had spent the night researching her. Georgetown transcripts showing a perfect GPA, published articles on global economic development that impressed experts, plans for a social enterprise that could redefine ethical trade. You're not just educated. You're already an innovator, David admitted. I pay consultants millions who haven't achieved what you have. The confession was raw. I was so threatened by someone half my age outperforming me that I couldn't see the opportunity. His offer was staggering. A $1 million seed investment in her social enterprise, premium office space in his building, full access to his international network. The condition? She would be the CEO. He would be an advisor. Maya was wary. It felt sudden, like guilt-driven philanthropy. When powerful people pivot quickly, there are often hidden motives. Your platform isn't just a good idea, David continued, showing her the research he'd compiled. It's the framework for the next generation of equitable global commerce. I was a fool not to see it. The terms were overwhelmingly in her favor. She retained full control and ownership. David received a minor stake for his investment and connections. All intellectual property remained hers. Evelyn Reed joined the meeting virtually. This isn't about pity or reverse discrimination. This is the most sound social impact investment I've seen in a decade. David's French partners wanted to pilot her platform immediately for their European operations. What began as his humiliation became her global launch, and his path to redemption through supporting young genius. The symbolic moment came when David handed Maya the keys to a bright corner office on the top. 3 weeks later, Maya returned to the restaurant, not as staff, but as a guest. She was there to see Mrs. Gable, the customer who had believed the gossip. Mrs. Gable fidgeted, her cheeks flushed with shame. "I'm so embarrassed. You were always the kindest server I had here in 5 years. I should have trusted my own experience over nasty talk about lazy youth." Maya didn't scold or shame. Instead, she asked about Liam, Mrs. Gable's 15-year-old grandson, who was losing interest in school. The bright boy was failing his global studies class because the textbook approach bored him. "Would you like me to mentor him?" Maya offered. Not as a paid service, but as one person helping another. Understanding different cultures can reignite a passion for learning. Mrs. Gable's eyes filled with tears. She confessed to feeling left behind by a changing world. Intimidated by technology she didn't understand, and distant from a younger generation that seemed foreign. Maya listened with genuine empathy. "Change is frightening when it feels imposed on you," Maya said gently. "But your generation adapted to revolutions in communication. You are more resilient than you know." Through this dialogue, the generational gap began to close. Mrs. Gable shared stories of being patronized as a young female accountant, how her ideas were dismissed. She saw the pattern she was now perpetuating. When Liam arrived, his motivation was gone. History felt irrelevant. Maya showed him how trade routes of the past shaped the technology he used today, how his skill with video games involved economic strategies. "Civilizations are like complex networks," she explained, watching his interest spark. "You're already a strategist. You just don't see it yet." Within an hour, Liam was passionately explaining the Silk Road to his grandmother. Her pride was radiant as other diners smiled and watched. The ripple effect was immediate. Other parents asked about mentorship for their children. Soon, Maya had a list of young people needing their potential unlocked. Mrs. Gable asked the vital question, "Why did you come back to help me after how I acted?" Maya's answer was profound in its simplicity. "Because building bridges is more powerful than burning them. My platform can connect the world, but it means nothing if people don't trust each other enough to cross. Mrs. Gable became the first community ambassador for Maya's initiative, eager to connect with her diverse neighborhood and understand her grandson's world. The scene closed with 3 generations talking and laughing as Liam explained ancient trade using a French fry as a prop. His renewed engagement was a victory. Real change happens one
If this story inspired you, if it made you see the potential in the young people around you, then do us a favor. Please like this video and make sure you're subscribed to Black Family Stories. Your support helps us share more tales of resilience and brilliance. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss what comes next.